What's up, everyone? Viking, fresh off the boat, Phil. I know I look like an idiot. I had a very supportive conclusion stream today of a Plague Tale Requiem, which is why I look like this. I have my all the rewards on me here, and I know I look stupid, but we have some extra time. We just finished the game. We got about maybe 20-25 minutes left on my stream before I adjourn normally, and I told everyone that I would stick around and do some Q&A with them in my life preserver jacket and my Viking helmet and my new gunner glasses. So let's do it. Let's see what people want to talk about. Right now, if you would like to ask me a question, please tag me in the stream chat. Our first question, Kevin says, butter or margarine? So, funny story. When I was growing up, I had no idea what butter tasted like. It's because my mom is partially lactose intolerant. When she eats too much dairy, she gets gas and bloating and pain. And when I was younger, first of all, my mom didn't know if that was going to happen to me, but because of that, we didn't really have full-on dairy stuff in the house. So actually, we had margarine instead of butter. So for the longest time, I just had margarine, and I didn't know what butter tasted like because I never had it, except for maybe once or twice going out to like a diner or something, and you get the little stick that they give you, the little dab of butter that you unpack from the foil, you put it on your food or whatever. So it's funny because as I started to get older and go out and eat outside of my house, I would taste the butter at other restaurants and be like, wow, why does it taste so different? I thought this was what I was having at home. I didn't even understand that I was having margarine and not butter. So, just so you know, for those who haven't had margarine, it's a lot more salty than regular butter. It's vegetable based. It has no dairy. I don't know if it's no dairy or low dairy. I think it's no dairy, right? It's not bad, but it's certainly very different. It's kind of like comparing mayonnaise to Miracle Whip, where again, it's kind of an alternative that's supposed to be like healthier or better for you, but it definitely doesn't taste the same. So that being said, I basically never knew what butter was like. And then as I got older and I started having real butter, I definitely like real butter better. I do. Real butter, I feel, has a more savory flavor, while margarine definitely feels like they're trying to make it feel like something tasty when it's just a lot of like salt and other things in there, but it doesn't taste as good as real butter. So there's my answer. I know it's very complicated. Oh, yeah? Hero says Plague Tale Requiem had really good week 1 sales, better than the first. I mean, that's not surprising. Plus, it's Game Pass. And by the way, I hate to say it, but they do count Game Pass as sales, even though it's not. I don't know why they do. They're like, oh, yeah, someone downloaded it on Game Pass. That's a game sale. No, it's not. They didn't pay any money for it, so it's not additional. You know what I mean? But they do count that. You would think that would help with the sales numbers for the game, for sure. DC has a haiku to send off this game. It's Plague Tale Requiem. He says, I mourn my brother. The macula has been cured. My family's close. Thank you, DC, for the final haiku of that playthrough. Tartarian Truth asks, do they have a Carl's Jr. or Hardee's near where I live? I've told this story before as well. I'll tell it again. It's been a while. When I first moved out here, I was still actively doing a series that I called DSP Tries It. This was a series where basically I would try fast food items from various places. And if they ended up adding anything new to the line of products or the menu, I would usually do an episode on it, taste test show. So when I first moved out here 8 years ago, I was trying to do fast food that I didn't have back in Connecticut. So for example, they don't have, let me turn this off. They don't have Jack in the Box on the East Coast. They don't have, I'm trying to think of the ones they don't have. They don't have like Taco Time. They have a few things that they don't have, that they have out here, they don't have out there. All right. So when I moved out here, I was like, let's try these out. All right. And I tried a few. One of the ones that I wanted to always try was Carl's Jr. or Hardee's, which is the same company, but they're named differently depending on where you are in the country. I actively looked for one. All right. It's not close. It's basically about a half an hour drive away from me. But one day I actively went out there and I said, I'm going to try the food. And if it's something good and worth doing, then one day I might do a DSP Tries It of it. But it was so far away, I didn't want to do a DSP Tries It and unfairly judge the food being that it was so far away. You see, it might be cold by the time I get it or whatever. So, and by the way, this was way before delivery. Like back then, there was no Uber Eats or DoorDash. You basically had to get the food yourself, okay? So, I drive all the way out there, and I order a combo, all right? And I can't remember exactly what it was. It was some kind of a burger and some kind of a side. I don't know if it was regular fries or special fries. But basically the way it worked there is you order, you sit down in the restaurant, and they bring the food to your table. Okay? So we order, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm not exaggerating. Sat there over 20 minutes, and the food didn't come. So finally, I grabbed the receipt. I go to the front counter. I'm like, it's fast food. How long do you want me to wait? Like, what's going on with my order? And come to find out, it wasn't just me. Everyone in the restaurant was in the same situation where the food just wasn't coming out. So I'm looking at the staff, and I hand it. It's all teenagers. Literally everyone in this store is probably between the ages of 16 to 18. There's not a single person that looks like they're an adult. Seriously. And I'm looking like there's no manager here either. There was no manager on duty. It was just a bunch of teenagers running the whole store. They were taking the drive-thru orders. They were making the food. They were doing everything themselves. So I'm like, how do you expect a bunch of teenagers to run a business? They're teenagers. They shouldn't even be expected to run the business. Like, what is going on here? So basically, if I remember correctly, I complained, and they were like, all right, we screwed it up. Sorry, you will bring your food in a minute. So finally, I sat down, probably waited another 5 minutes, and then the food came out, and it was all wrong. They brought me all the wrong food. So I go back. I'm like, this is wrong. What are you doing? And then basically, they're like, all right, we screwed up. Okay. So finally, they brought me the food. And by the time I got it, it was cold. Because probably it went to the wrong people. And they got it back and gave it to me. It was terrible. It was some of the worst fast food I've ever eaten. The food was dry, overcooked, cold, flavorless. It was terrible. I don't even remember what I got. I mean, this was 8 years ago. I was some kind of a burger. And like I said, either fries or onion rings, something. I don't even know. And it was just one of the worst fast food experiences I ever had. I would have complained to the manager, but there was no manager. It was just teenagers running the business. So I went home, and I was just scratching my head about it. And I'm like, maybe it was just an off day. Maybe there was a family emergency, and the manager had to leave. And there's literally no one you can call in. Like, there was no assistant manager. There was no district manager available. And it was just a horrible situation. Maybe I just wrong place, wrong time. But since then, I was always expecting that as other businesses close and open, that there would be another, like a Sonic or a Hardee's or a Carl's Jr. or something like that around here. Nothing ever opened up close to me. So basically, for me to get Hardee's or Carl's Jr., I have to drive so far back to that location. That's like, why would I do that? You're taking such a giant chance that it's going to be shit, I mean, it's been 8 years. You got to think in 8 years something's changed. They probably improved, right? But who knows, So I just never had it again. If there ever was another one that opened close by, I would try it again. But I'm not driving a half an hour to get shitty food. It's not worth it. Okay. All right, let's see here. I'm a great storyteller. Thank you for saying that, Project Hail Mary. Some people think I'm a terrible storyteller, by the way. Do I have any favorite spicy dishes? Not particularly. I am growing more of an affinity for spicy food the older I get. When I was younger, I didn't like spicy at all. Now, if I'm going to, like, for example, if I'm going to order Indian food, I'll probably get, like, a mid-level spice. When I was younger, I probably would have got, like, mild, but now I get, like, mid. If I'm eating Mexican food, I'm okay with eating something that's a little bit more on the spicy side. But in general, no, I'm not, like, I don't have any favorite dishes. Do I think I'll ever finish up Dying Light 2? I mean, let's be honest here. I played Dying Light 2 for 15 hours. The game just started. Okay? That's not even exaggerating. I got through the intro to the main meat of the game. It took 15 hours. You would have to guess it's probably going to take another 20, 30 hours to get through it. The first 15 hours weren't that good. They were just passable. The game didn't really feel like much of an advancement from the first game at all. And the further I played, the more bugs I got. Remember? Despawning enemies. Just problems. And, the game came out. I played it for like 2 weeks. By being honest with you, most people didn't even like it for the 2 weeks I played it. Okay? They were kind of complaining the game's not good. Then other games came out like Elden Ring and other stuff. Of course, that took precedence. I always left it out there. I said if you guys wanted to see Dying Light 2 come back, I own it. I would have no problem with re-downloading it. My save's in the cloud. Literally, no. I think all year up to this point. So you're talking, what was that, February? Up to now, November. I could count on one hand the amount of people who even mentioned the game to me again. And you're one of them. And I think there were 2 active people who asked about if, because they liked it, they wanted to see me play it. And then there were 2 people who were like, hey, did you ever think about going back to it, but didn't particularly want me to. So no one really cares. I think the game, it's like a game that literally, if it never came out, no one would care. It's a game that felt exactly like the first game with very minor improvements. And then on top of that was bug-filled. So, wow, what a flop. A game that took that many years in development comes out and doesn't even differentiate itself enough from the first game for anyone to care or even remember it exists after a week. That's pretty sad. I actually feel bad for that game dev company because I don't know what's going to happen to them. Okay. Can I tell you about the time someone ID'd me in the drive-thru for a cheeseburger? No, I don't remember that. You're saying that, Amplitory, and I think it's ringing a bell. I think what they needed to do, they wanted to confirm that my credit card was actually mine. But I don't think I remember the specific situation, so I can't really speak to it. Yeah. Am I playing the Powerball? I mean, if I actively were going to stores right now, and I happened to be somewhere where I could buy a lottery ticket, I probably would, considering the Powerball is the biggest it's ever been, the biggest payout in history. But I'm here 6 days a week. I won't be out till Thursday of this week. By then, it's too late, right? So, no, I'm not playing the Powerball. It's still sold incredibly well. I did hear that. I heard that Dying Light 2 sold well, and the reason was because, the big game rush hits through, like, November into early December, and then there's a time with nothing, right? All December, January, almost nothing. In fact, if the only other game I could think of around that time was Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Arceus, however you pronounce it. And, of course, that's only for a set group. So, outside of that, there was really nothing going on. And people were looking for a big game to play to get them occupied until Elden Ring came out. So, I think tons of people bought it because there was just nothing else going on. And then they bought it. They're like, what the fuck is this? What is this shit? Hero believes the first one was better. I think they were the same. I think they're about the same. I feel like they're the same game again. It feels like it's the same game. Okay. All right. Again, any other questions, please tag me in the chat. Geo Yanks says, I just feel like maybe it's not a stream game. I mean, I don't believe that. It's action-filled. It's got exploration. It's got traversal. It's got ample opportunity to interact with an audience while also having stuff going on in the game. Like, no, I think it is a stream game. Games that aren't good for streaming are basically games where basically there's nothing, either the game itself isn't entertaining to watch, or there's not enough opportunity for the streamer to interact with their audience to make the stream fun. Like perhaps a really involved JRPG where the person can't even talk to their audience because it's so demanding. Or, I think there's certain games that have a certain audience, like XCOM. There's a certain person who maybe could be known for that, who streams it and is successful, but the common person is not going to be able to stream that game and do well. You know what I mean? Am I interested in the new Need for Speed in December? I don't know anything about it. I don't even know when it's coming out. You guys know the games I've told you I'm interested in for the next month to month and a half, and how I feel those are going to take me to the end of the year. So it's not a no. It's a I don't know. I don't know anything about it. If it's good, maybe if people want me to do it, I'll do it eventually. Am I excited for Starfield? No. Absolutely not. I've seen nothing about Starfield that made me interested at all. It looks like Fallout in space. It kind of looks like a combination of Fallout, Outer Worlds, and No Man's Sky, but nothing original and nothing that really makes me say, wow, that's a unique experience. It just looks like they taped other experiences together. That doesn't make a great game. So, no, I'm not seeing anything very interesting about it at this point. Maybe we just don't know yet. Expand Dog says, do you think Horizon was snubbed as a Game of the Year contender? Horizon does a few things great. Graphics, open world traversal, and I would say world building and the uniqueness of the cultures in the game. Okay? Horizon fell flat on its face implementing combat and mission structure. So, you've got a game that maybe is 75% really amazing and 25% underwhelming and disappointing. They actually went back on things that were good from the first game. For example, the cauldrons. You invade a cauldron in the first game. There's a series of puzzles, unique enemies, and a boss fight. You'll win that cauldron. You get a unique reward, right? Wow. I think in that game you could actually control one of the creatures, hack a creature. Was that what the reward was for the cauldrons? I can't remember exactly. In Horizon Forbidden West, you beat a cauldron and you get nothing. Like you might as well have not done it. Because not only did you have to do the cauldron, now you have to go do grindy, repetitive fights against generic enemies over and over and over to earn enough crafting components to then craft the ability to hack the enemy. You already beat the dungeon. That was the challenge. But now you have to waste time grinding to get your reward. What the hell were they thinking there? And a lot of the missions are very much like that, where one mission is you do an interesting plot, you get a good reward at the end. Another time you do a mission for 4 hours and there's nothing. It's crap. So they kind of screwed it up. It felt to me like maybe what they did is, sadly, they had too many people, too many hands in the pot, as they say, too many different groups of game devs working on it, and they didn't really work together to figure out how all the pieces that they were developing, how they were going to work together in a cohesive whole. Because how is it that certain parts of the game just feel breathtaking? Wow, look at this amazing environment I just hit. You know, you're in the desert, the Las Vegas desert, and you see the strip, and there's the plot line of being underwater. It's all well done. And then there's another segment that's just shit. You're like, how did they screw this up so bad? How do you get a high followed by a low? I just don't get that. And again, when things were done better in the first game, that's disappointing. And there's a few things that are done better in the first game than in the second. So I think that's why a lot of people don't have it in their Game of the Year discussions, quite frankly. Let's see here. I got $1 tip. What? This is hilarious because it's... No. No. Time to delete your moronic tip. I told you guys I'm not going to waste time on this shit anymore. Okay? I'm not going to put up with this shit anymore. Alright? So, I got good advice the other day. Someone said to me something. They said, Phil, the best, what you should do, whenever an idiot tries to give you bait to talk about negative shit, don't take the bait. Just don't address it at all. So here's what I'm going to say to this person. Thanks for nothing, you idiot. And I'm going to move on. There we go. Because we were trying to do detractor shit. And I almost took the bait. I almost said something. And I was like, nah, fuck that person. I'm not going to say shit. There you go. Okay. Do I feel there are too many remakes coming out? Witcher, Dead Space, Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil 4. The thing is, when it comes to a remake, all right, there are definitely times for them that make sense and times that don't, all right? So if you take a look at some successful remakes, Resident Evil 2 remake, which I think is one of the best, if not the best remake ever made. Resident Evil 2, the original, is an incredibly dated game. Number one, there's very limited ways you can play it. You have to either own a PlayStation 1 to play it, unedited, or you have to get it digitally. You could get it on PS3 digital marketplace. You could, I believe, it may even be available on PS4, which then of course means it's PS5. But basically, the game is outdated. It runs poorly. It doesn't look good. The controls are actually delayed unless you're playing on the original PlayStation 1, no matter what version you play. There really isn't a way to experience it, you know what I'm saying, with modern people playing it on a modern console. And so they just said, what the hell? It's one of the best survival horror games of all time. Why not completely redesign it for a modern audience from the ground up? So what did they do? They redid the graphics. They redid the gameplay elements. They redid the map. They redid everything. The puzzles, the enemies, everything. It's a modern game now, right? And you play it and it blows you away. And it's cool because when you play it, it still retains the spirit of the original Resident Evil 2. Although you can argue it's definitely a modern remake. It's not the original game. It definitely feels like this is maybe when those game devs were making the game in the 1990s, if they had the capabilities to do the amazing things we could do now with technology, this is what they would have done, right? That's a remake that makes sense. So if you're talking about remakes like that, I don't mind them at all, all right? When you're telling me The Last of Us 1, which already was made on PS3 and was best in class on that console, was remade again for PS4 the year later, and the only difference between the two versions is the frame rate. And you're telling me you're re-releasing it again for PS5, and literally the only upgrades is the graphics. You know what I mean? The gameplay's identical. The story's identical. The music's identical. The plot is identical. Every piece of the game is identical except for the graphics and accessibility features. All right? Then I say, that's not even a remake. It isn't. Last of Us 1 remake is not a remake. It's Last of Us 1 with a few extra features, and they charge you $70 for it because you're a sucker. So, we don't need... Here's the thing. Did The Last of Us 1 need an update? Yes, it did. It needed an update because we wanted to see it in modern graphics. We already had better graphics for the sequel, and we needed accessibility features added to it. Okay? So, did it need to be updated? Yes. Could they have maybe done a $20 patch for the existing game? Yes. Did they choose to do that? No. They chose to rip off their customer base. It's bullshit. Even people even people who needed those accessibility features to experience the game for the first time, they got ripped off because they paid $70 for a game that almost everyone else had already experienced. Already the plot was out there and didn't even have the features of the original game, and they paid full price for it. They got ripped off too, you know. But that's the difference. Remakes can be done differently, so it all depends. If you have an outdated game, there's not ready access to a modern audience, then obviously, yes, that makes sense that you would want to have a situation where people can play it and have modern graphics and modern elements to it. But that doesn't mean to rip off people for a game that was made in the last 10 years and literally you didn't improve anything. You know, they're very different. Are there any places or countries I like to travel? Yes. Japan, Canada, Europe, like a European tour of like England, France, Italy, Germany, maybe Spain. That would be nice. I would like to do that. I probably will never get to. You know, I'm a realist, and I don't want to be a downer, but in my life, I've had so many hardships and things that have come against me that every time I seem to be getting ahead, something happens to set me back again and again and again. And I'm in a situation where it's going to take a while for me to get out of the situation I'm in. I'm you know, the financial rut, maybe. But the thing is, let's say it takes me another 10 years, right? Hopefully, by the time I'm 50, you know, I'm able to do it. You know, when my parents started to get older, they couldn't even really travel and do things anymore. So I'm hoping by the time I get that age, I'm able to still do shit. You know what I mean? I guess we'll have to see. But would I like to go places? Yes. Realistically, will I ever be able to? Probably not. You know. Do I think Forspoken will set a new bar for Magic combat? I have no idea. I haven't even been following the game. Yeah, I haven't even really seen anything in regards to it. I mean, I know there was new trailers and stuff recently, and I didn't even watch them. I really didn't. I'll pay more attention to the game when we're closer to its release. Last chance for a question or two, guys. Last chance. Because we're out of time. Hero says, I think the lack of backwards compatibility on the PSVR 2 is a huge downer. What do you mean? That you can't play PSVR 1 games on it? Name a PSVR 1 game that's a killer app that you're missing out on. Seriously, name a single one. I don't think there are any. No. Last of Us, if the Last of Us re-release gets Game of the Year, they might as well never do awards ever again. Seriously. There's no reason for that game to get Game of the Year. That would be insane. Alright, well, I'll see you later. No, there's no free upgrades with God of War Ragnarok. That's correct. You buy the version you want, you play that version, there's no free crossover. Yep. Alright, guys. Thank you very much for watching this little impromptu Q&A video. I hope you enjoyed it. Killed some time, right? Excellent. Thanks.